Hello there everyone, I'm Christina at CSLdesigns and today I'm going to show you how to make this Ombre stripes beaded kumihimo bracelet. And this is what mine looks like here. So I just chose to work with some blue tones for the ombre effect there, and then I've broken that up with these metallic stripes in copper. So it looks like this, they really play nicely together. So what we achieve is actually blending those two blue colors together as well, so it gives that nice ombre effect. And this is then the effect that you can get when it sits on the wrist. So you can see we get both the colours from those ombre stripes blending nicely together, but also those copper beads really just breaking up the stripes along the way as well. It's kind of twisted around, so obviously also sitting on your wrist, it gives a really nice twisted effect going all the way around, broken up by those colours that at the same time blend together nicely. So then as for the size of this bracelet here, the length of the beaded part of the braid itself is about 6.5 inches from one end to the other there. So obviously then also your clasps are going to add some length. So it really depends on what clasp you add, because different clasps will add different lengths. So some might add more and some might add less. So that's obviously personal preference as well. Now you can make this longer or shorter. So you could either add another section if you want it substantially longer, or you can take a color section away from the end. But what you could also do is just add a couple more of the colors on the end there instead of actually doing the ombre. Same on the other end, obviously with the colour that's actually on that end, or take a few away if you just want it slightly shorter or slightly longer. So that's obviously completely up to you and depending on the size that you need. So if you want to learn how to make this bracelet, then keep watching. So these are then the materials that we're going to need. First of all, here I have my round kumihimo disc because it is a round braid structure that we are making. And with that I'm using this 0.5mm s-lon. This is a black colour just to be a nice and neutral colour against the beads that I'm using. But obviously you can easily match your colour of cord with the beads that you've chosen to use. And as for the beads, these two different blue colours here are both the same beads. So they're 8 Omiyuki seed beads. And then I've just got a silverline cobalt. And then I've got a silverline sapphire. So that's obviously to get that graduated effect between the colours. But you can of course mix whatever kind of colours that you want to. And the other beads that I'm using are these 3mm rounds here. Now these specific ones are copper metal spacer beads. I thought they'd give a really nice contrast with the blue seed beads that I'm using. And then to finish off the ends of the braid, I've got these kumihimo ends here where we have little loops in them that we can then use to attach our findings to. So I've got a lobster claw clasp and extender chain, and we're going to put it together using these jump rings here. Of course you can choose whatever kind of clasp that you prefer. So check out the description box below the video there where I'm going to have all these materials written out along with links as well, so that might be helpful. But let's get all the materials ready and let's get started. So then we need to cut some lengths of cord, and what I have here is 4 lengths of about 1 meter each. And then what I've made sure to do is put all the ends together so they're even, because then what we need to do is find the midpoint of these. So I fold them over in half, so put the ends together again like that, because then where we have the middle, I then tie a regular overhand knot just to hold the cords together, and I've just put a piece of scrap wire around that to help pull it down through the disc. So I then took my lengths of cord and attached them onto my kumihimo disc like this. So I took that knot with the wire down through the hole in the center of the disc there, so the braid is going to be coming out on the back. And then I distributed the rest of the cords evenly around the disc like this here. So I put 1 length of cord on either side of the top dot and also on either side of the bottom dot, so we have pairs opposite each other. Then also we have pairs opposite each other on the side, again the same principle, so they're evenly spread out in these 4 pairs. And then we need to start making a braid here with just the cord for now before we start adding in any beads. So what I do is I take my top left cord, release that from the slot and bring that down, and I stay on the left side of that bottom pair. Then I take the bottom right one and bring that up, and I stay on the right side of the top there. Then we turn the disc for the next pair, so about 1/4. Then again I take the top left one, bring that down, stay on that left side, and then I take the bottom right one and bring that up, and again stay on the right side. So now the pairs have kind of traveled slightly around the disc, as you can see here. When I turn it again, so we're always turning the disc for the next pair, and then take the top left one, bring that down, and the bottom right one and bring that up. So you just want to keep going like this until we have about 1 centimeter of braid. So now that I kept braiding here, we can see the braid starts to come out of the back, and we have that short little end of the braid there. So then what we need to do now is add on the beads to all the lengths of cord. So this is then what the bead setup looks like here, and as you can see we have both the metal spacer beads and both colours of the 8/0s on all the lengths of cord. Now I'm not going to go through the bead setup here because, as you can see, it's quite mixed on all the lengths of cords and that will take a while. But what I have done is I've taken a picture of this setup, and then along with the text description I put that on my website as well, so you can go there and have a look if you want to look at it in more detail. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below. But what I do just want to mention is that this bead setup here is made to accommodate for the way that I work with my braid. So I start with my top left one, bring that down, and then I take the bottom right one and bring that up. So if you do the same, so if you start with either the top left one or the bottom right one, because they're the same as each other, then you can set up the beads just like this here and you'll achieve the same effect. And that is basically in a mirrored image to this. So imagine that you have a mirror in front of your disc, and then you want to set up the beads in that mirrored image. So what that means is the top two cords there, it's not the cords but the setup of the beads, they would swap over with each other. So the beads on the left cord would be on the right one and the ones on the right would be on the left one. The same with the two bottom ones there, they would also swap with each other. And on the side, the top one on either side will swap over the middle, and the bottom one on either side will also swap over the middle. And then you achieve that mirror image of the setup, so you're going to achieve the same pattern if you work in the opposite direction. But then once we've added all the beads on the length of cords here, then we just need to start adding them into the braid. So we just want to pick up where we left off the braid. So the next cord that I'm due to take is my top left one there. So I'm going to, just like before, release the cord, but as I'm releasing the cord, I'm also going to take the very first bead and let that drop down, only that single bead, and then as it drops into the middle, it might go under the cord here that's going out to the side by itself, and that's where we want it to be. If it doesn't, make sure you tuck it in, push it in with your fingers, and then bring the cord down, making sure that bead stays underneath the cord that's going out to the side. And then I take the bottom right one, again same thing, as I'm releasing the cord, I'm dropping down that first bead, and also have that go right into the middle, tuck it underneath the cord that's coming out to the side, and then trap it in place by bringing the cord to the top there and placing it into the slot. So you can see it's the same movements and structure as when we weren't adding beads and just making that little beginning section. Now the only difference is we're just adding a bead in every time we make a movement with a cord. So turn your disc for the next pair, and then do the same thing. Release the cord and drop down a bead, and tuck it underneath in the middle there, and the same with the bottom right one. Drop the bead down as we release, and then bring the cord over to the opposite side of the disc. And then you just want to continue doing this all the way until we've used up all the beads here, and then you're going to slowly start to see the pattern forming on the braid. So now that I've added in all the beads here so I don't have any more left on my cords, then here on the end what we need to do is also make a short end of the braid, just with the cord, just like we did in the beginning here. So all you want to do is continue in the same way, and then what will happen is the cord is naturally going to singe in here, and you want to do about the same length as we have in the beginning as well. So now I have that little end of the braid there. I just want to secure all these cords so we can remove the braid from the disc without the braid actually coming undone and unraveling. So what I'm going to do is we need to go to the pair that was due to take next. So not the pair that I just used, that's these ones here. Then we're going to take cords that are diagonally opposite each other. So these two, bring them across the middle, and then tie a regular knot with the two, and then tighten that right down on the end of the braid. Then I take the two other cords from the same pair, also tie a knot across the middle, which then lies on top of the previous one. Then I flip it around here to the other pair. Again, take cords that are diagonally opposite each other, and then I'm just leaving the cords loose after I've tightened the knot there. The last two cords, again, make the knot across the middle, and then because these are the final cords that we're tying knots with, I like to do two, just because that second knot will really hold the first one in place. Otherwise, just doing one, it's more likely to come undone while we continue to work with it. Because now I can remove my disc here, and obviously we just got to finish off the ends of the braid. So to do that, I'm going to finish off the ends here by first of all removing my length of wire from the one end, and then the other end here I'm going to put some glue around where the cords are coming out from, and then once it's dried a bit I'm going to cut off the excess of the cords, because then both ends are more or less the same and ready to be able to use these kumihimo ends here, or we then just add some glue inside, put them on the end there of that little corded section, which is what it was meant for, and then obviously let it dry. Then we have the little loops where we can just attach the findings. So if you're not familiar with how to do that, I already have a tutorial where I show how to finish off the ends of kumihimo braids like this. So I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below, so check that out. But finish off the ends, attach your findings, obviously let the glue dry, and then you're going to have your finished bracelet. So I now finished off the ends of my braid and it looks like this. So on one end I've got my extender chain, on the other end I've got my lost core clasp there, so it's ready to wear. And then it looks like this here. So we have this lovely ombre effect between those two blue tones that I've used. Obviously you can use whatever kind of colors that you want to, but they just blend really nicely together, kind of twisting around, and also then broken up by these two twisted stripes of the copper beads. It really plays nice against them blue colors, I think. So this is how it looks. So obviously you can then just use your clasp. It's ready to wear, and it'll also sit really lovely on your wrist because it has this twist effect, and it's going to really emphasize it even more. So just like this. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial here. Please feel free to check out my channel for loads of the beaded kumihimo tutorials and other mediums as well. And also I'd love for you to join me on Instagram. I post pretty much daily and also more personal and behind the scenes stuff. So I really hope you're going to join me there. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial though, and I'll see you in the next one.